What happens when a global criminal organization responsible for organized crime, drugs, and violence expands its reach into the most dangerous territory imaginable, nuclear trafficking? This isn't fiction. It's the real-life case of Takeshi Ebisawa. The world has long been familiar with the Yakuza, a criminal organization known for its grip on the underworld, illicit activities, and ruthless operations. But what happens when this notorious syndicate moves beyond drug trade and extortion and enters the realm of nuclear weapons? This is not a scene from a high-stakes action film. This is the terrifying reality of Takeshi Ebisawa, the leader of a powerful Yakuza faction, who found himself at the center of a plot so dangerous it had the potential to alter global security as we know it. Takeshi Ebisawa, through his Yakuza ties, has been implicated in trafficking nuclear materials, plutonium, uranium, destined for use in weapons. These are materials that can fuel nuclear destruction, and their movement across international borders didn't just threaten one country. It could have destabilized entire regions, threatening millions of lives. The stakes couldn't have been higher. International security, nuclear diplomacy, and the fight against global terrorism all hung in the balance. But how was he caught? And how close did the world come to witnessing a potential catastrophe? Before we dive deeper into the specifics, think about this. What if one criminal syndicate had the power to destabilize entire nations with the touch of a button? What if they had access to materials that could fuel catastrophic destruction on a global scale? Keep watching to learn how a Yakuza leader nearly did just that. Before we continue, there is a need for a disclaimer. This video blends factual details with dramatized elements for storytelling purposes. While inspired by real events and supported by publicly available information, some aspects have been enhanced or imagined to provide a compelling narrative. Names and images may have been changed for privacy or legal reasons, and certain facts may differ from official reports. This is not an official investigation, and we are not affiliated with any investigative bodies. The content is intended to inform and entertain, and we do not condone or promote violence in any form. Viewer discretion is advised. Takeshi Ebisawa, born around 1964, is a Japanese national who rose to prominence as a leader within the Yakuza, Japan's notorious organized crime syndicate. The Yakuza, known for their involvement in various illicit activities such as drug trafficking, arms smuggling, and human trafficking, have a significant presence both within Japan and internationally. Ebisawa's ascent through the Yakuza ranks was marked by his strategic acumen and ruthlessness, enabling him to establish a formidable criminal network that spanned multiple countries. Within Japan, Ebisawa was recognized as a formidable figure in the criminal underworld, commanding respect and fear among peers and rivals alike. His operations extended beyond Japan's borders, with connections to criminal organizations in Thailand, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, and the United States. This international network facilitated a range of illegal activities, including the trafficking of narcotics, weapons, and, as revealed later, nuclear materials. The Yakuza's operations are diverse and deeply entrenched in both the Japanese economy and society. They are involved in various illegal activities, including drug trafficking. The Yakuza has been implicated in the production and distribution of illicit drugs such as methamphetamine and heroin, both within Japan and internationally. Arms smuggling. Engagement in the illegal arms trade, supplying weapons to various groups, including insurgents and criminal organizations. Human trafficking. Involvement in the exploitation and trafficking of individuals for forced labor and sexual exploitation. Money laundering, utilizing legitimate businesses to launder proceeds from illegal activities, integrating illicit funds into the economy. These activities not only generate substantial revenue for the Yakuza, but also exert significant influence over various sectors, including construction, entertainment, and finance. Ebisawa's criminal operations were extensive, with a network that spanned multiple countries. His involvement in the trafficking of nuclear materials, including uranium and weapons-grade plutonium, from Myanmar to other countries, highlighted the global reach of his syndicate. Additionally, his engagement in international narcotics trafficking and weapons offenses underscored the scale and complexity of his criminal activities. The U.S. Department of Justice reported that Ebisawa conspired to move these materials with the intent that they would be used in the development of nuclear weapons, potentially by Iran. The international nature of his operations involved coordination with various criminal entities across different regions, facilitating the movement of illicit goods and services. This global network not only enhanced the profitability of his operations, but also posed significant challenges for law enforcement agencies worldwide. Ebisawa wasn't just another crime boss. He was a mastermind of a sprawling network. But how did his empire turn to nuclear trafficking? Takeshi Ebisawa's criminal career began within Japan's underworld, where he quickly gained prominence in the Yakuza, leveraging their extensive network and resources to build his influence. However, Ebisawa's ambitions extended far beyond Japan's borders. Recognizing the immense profit potential in global markets, he shifted his focus to international operations, branching out into drug trafficking, arms dealing, and ultimately, the illicit trade of nuclear materials. This move marked a dangerous evolution in his criminal enterprise, opening doors to both new opportunities and unparalleled risks. The Yakuza's well-established international network was instrumental in Ebisawa's expansion. With deep-rooted connections in countries like Thailand, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, and the United States, the syndicate provided a seamless infrastructure for smuggling contraband across borders. These international ties enabled Ebisawa to exploit trade routes, avoid detection, and infiltrate regions previously beyond his reach. Myanmar, in particular, became a key hub for Ebisawa's operations. The nation's political turmoil, exacerbated by the military coup in February 2021, created an environment rife with lawlessness and opportunity for transnational crime. The country's rich reserves of rare earth materials, coupled with the influence of insurgent groups, presented an ideal setting for Ebisawa's activities. He capitalized on this instability, forging alliances with local insurgent leaders and using the region as a base for the movement of weapons, narcotics, and nuclear materials. Among the most alarming aspects of Ebisawa's crimes was his involvement in the trafficking of uranium and weapons-grade plutonium, highly dangerous radioactive materials critical for developing nuclear weapons. The ramifications of such activities are immense, as these materials, if acquired by rogue states or terrorist organizations, could fuel nuclear proliferation and pose grave risks to global security. Weapons-grade plutonium, in particular, is highly sought after for its efficiency in nuclear reactions. The unauthorized diversion of such materials carries the potential to escalate geopolitical tensions and increase the likelihood of nuclear confrontation. Had Ebisawa succeeded in supplying these materials to hostile entities, the resulting fallout could have destabilized regions, endangered millions of lives, and brought the world closer to the brink of nuclear crisis. But how close did Ebisawa come to achieving this? Could his actions have precipitated an international nuclear emergency? And perhaps most disturbingly, why did intelligence agencies fail to intercept his operations before they reached such a critical point? In early 2022, intelligence agencies began to uncover an alarming shift. The Yakuza, historically associated with domestic crime, appeared to be venturing into the trafficking of nuclear materials. The first breakthrough came when a confidential informant disclosed information about a Japanese syndicate attempting to sell weapons-grade plutonium. This revelation triggered an international investigation with agencies from the United States, Japan, Indonesia, and Thailand pooling resources to track the materials and unravel the criminal network. Central to the investigation was the name Takeshi Ebisawa. The U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, took the lead, supported by the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security, DHS. Japanese authorities contributed crucial intelligence on Yakuza activities, while Indonesian and Thai agencies monitored the syndicate's operations across Southeast Asia. Undercover agents played a pivotal role in the investigation, risking their lives to penetrate Ebisawa's network, gather evidence, and prevent a looming catastrophe. Operating within such a volatile and high-stakes environment demanded relentless dedication and constant vigilance, as any misstep could jeopardize the mission or lead to catastrophic consequences. As the investigation progressed, the true scale of Ebisawa's operations began to emerge. Authorities uncovered an intricate network that spanned multiple countries, including Myanmar, Thailand, and the United States, designed to transport and distribute uranium and plutonium with potential use in nuclear weapons. The magnitude of the threat became increasingly clear. If the materials had reached their destination, the global ramifications would have been devastating. The investigation revealed a sobering reality. Ebisawa's criminal network was operating dangerously close to success. The near disaster highlighted the vital importance of international collaboration and intelligence sharing in thwarting such significant threats. How did law enforcement piece together Ebisawa's sprawling network in time? And how close was the world to witnessing the unthinkable? In early 2022, intelligence agencies began uncovering a deeply troubling trend. The Yakuza, traditionally known for their domestic criminal exploits, were venturing into nuclear trafficking. A critical breakthrough came from a confidential informant who revealed that a Japanese crime syndicate was attempting to sell weapons-grade plutonium. This information set in motion a complex international investigation involving law enforcement from the United States, Japan, Indonesia, and Thailand. Early efforts were focused on tracing the illicit materials and mapping the syndicate's sprawling network, which ultimately led investigators to Takeshi Ebisawa. To dismantle Ebisawa's operations, authorities orchestrated an elaborate sting operation. Undercover agents, posing as intermediaries for a foreign government allegedly interested in acquiring nuclear materials, engaged in high-stakes negotiations with Ebisawa and his associates. These meetings delved into the logistics of transporting uranium and weapons-grade plutonium, allowing investigators to gather critical evidence. The operation demanded precision and unwavering coordination as agents navigated the treacherous terrain of global crime while protecting their cover. Unexpected developments and narrow escapes added tension, but the agents persisted, knowing the stakes were nothing less than global security. In April 2022, the operation reached its dramatic climax. Ebisawa was arrested during a meeting where he believed he was finalizing a deal to supply nuclear materials to an undisclosed foreign entity. His capture sent ripples through the international community, exposing the alarming reach of organized crime syndicates like the Yakuza into markets that threatened global stability. Law enforcement agencies lauded the operation as a triumph of international collaboration, but it also underscored the persistent dangers of transnational crime. Public reactions ranged from relief to renewed anxiety over the what-ifs. Had Ebisawa succeeded, the consequences could have been catastrophic, igniting fears about what vulnerabilities still remain in global security. The case prompted urgent discussions about tightening safeguards against the trafficking of nuclear materials and reinforced the critical need for vigilance. For other criminal organizations, Ebisawa's arrest served as a sobering warning. Even the most covert operations could be infiltrated. While Ebisawa's capture provided some closure, lingering questions remain. Could there still be untapped networks trafficking in dangerous materials? What lies hidden in the dark corners of the criminal underworld, waiting for the right moment to strike? In the aftermath of Takeshi Ebisawa's arrest, global attention shifted to the courtroom, where justice for his actions would be pursued. Accused of masterminding a sprawling criminal network, Ebisawa faced charges that included trafficking nuclear materials such as uranium and weapons-grade plutonium sourced from Myanmar, intended for use in nuclear weapons programs. Intelligence pointed to Iran as the intended recipient of these materials. In addition to nuclear trafficking, he was charged with international narcotics distribution, funneling heroin and methamphetamine into the United States, and procuring surface-to-air missiles in furtherance of weapons offenses. The courtroom proceedings became a focal point for international scrutiny. Prosecutors presented a detailed and damning case, supported by testimony from undercover agents and informants who revealed the secretive dealings and financial webs that enabled Ebisawa's syndicate to operate across borders. Evidence of smuggled nuclear materials and coded transactions provided a clear picture of the organization's global reach. The defense mounted a fierce challenge, questioning the reliability of certain witnesses and the legality of surveillance methods. However, the weight of evidence left little room for doubt about Ebisawa's guilt. In a surprising twist, Ebisawa chose to plead guilty to all charges. The decision came amid mounting pressure from irrefutable evidence and a strategic calculation to secure a more lenient sentence by cooperating with authorities. By admitting his role in nuclear trafficking, narcotic smuggling, and weapons offenses, Ebisawa expedited the legal process and avoided the risk of a longer trial and harsher penalties. His guilty plea marked a critical turning point in the case, sparing the international community the anxiety of prolonged uncertainty. Ebisawa's conviction had sweeping implications for global security and the fight against transnational crime. His case illuminated significant gaps in the international system for monitoring and controlling nuclear materials. In response, governments worldwide intensified efforts to enhance border security, improve intelligence sharing protocols, and refine strategies for preventing the illicit trade of dangerous substances. International treaties related to nuclear security were revisited, with new provisions proposed to counter the evolving tactics of criminal networks. For Japan, the trial cast a harsh spotlight on the Yakuza's international ambitions and forced the nation to confront the global impact of its domestic organized crime groups. The association of a Japanese syndicate with such high-stakes crimes prompted internal reforms aimed at dismantling organized crime and ensuring stricter oversight of industries vulnerable to Yakuza influence. Japan's government faced heightened expectations to reaffirm its commitment to global security and repair any damage to its international reputation. The case also raised broader concerns about the nexus between organized crime and global threats. The trafficking of nuclear materials posed a chilling danger, with the potential to ignite geopolitical crises and destabilize entire regions. Ebisawa's arrest underscored the necessity for law enforcement agencies to develop innovative tools and partnerships to counter the growing sophistication of criminal organizations. Enhanced intelligence networks and specialized task forces became priorities in the global fight against transnational crime. While Ebisawa's guilty plea closed a major chapter in the case, it left lingering questions. What critical information did he disclose in his plea deal, and how many more criminal syndicates are operating in the shadows, poised to exploit the vulnerabilities revealed by this case? The arrest and conviction of Takeshi Ebisawa, a prominent Yakuza leader, cast a long shadow over communities both in Japan and internationally. His extensive criminal activities, including the trafficking of nuclear materials, narcotics, and weapons, left indelible marks on countless lives. In Japan, the Yakuza's influence permeated various facets of society, often through coercion and violence. Families were torn apart by the addiction to drugs like heroin and methamphetamine, substances that Ebisawa's syndicate trafficked extensively. The proliferation of these drugs led to increased crime rates, economic hardship, and a pervasive sense of insecurity within communities. The fear of Yakuza retribution silenced many, leaving victims without recourse and perpetuating a cycle of violence and despair. Internationally, the ramifications were equally severe. The trafficking of weapons-grade plutonium and uranium posed a direct threat to global security. Had these materials fallen into the wrong hands, they could have been used to develop nuclear weapons, escalating conflicts and endangering millions of lives. The potential for such catastrophic outcomes underscored the far-reaching consequences of Ebisawa's actions. The exposure of Ebisawa's operations prompted a reevaluation of global security policies. International agencies recognized the urgent need for enhanced cooperation to combat the trafficking of nuclear materials. The United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, UNODC, emphasized the importance of effective regional and international cooperation mechanisms to investigate and prosecute radiological and nuclear crimes. In response, countries strengthened their commitment to nuclear non-proliferation, implementing stricter controls and surveillance measures to prevent similar incidents. The case highlighted the vulnerabilities in the global supply chain of nuclear materials and the necessity for robust monitoring systems to detect and deter illicit activities. Furthermore, the incident underscored the interconnectedness of transnational organized crime and the imperative for a unified global strategy to address such threats. The United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, UNODC, noted that organized crime has globalized and turned into a security threat, with activities like drug trafficking and human smuggling linked to other transnational crimes, including the trafficking of nuclear materials. This case is a sobering reminder of how far-reaching organized crime can be. What do you think the world can do to stop the spread of nuclear materials? Share your thoughts below. The case of Takeshi Ebisawa serves as a stark reminder of the pervasive and evolving nature of global organized crime. His extensive network, spanning continents and involving illicit activities such as nuclear trafficking, drug smuggling, and arms dealing, underscores the complex challenges law enforcement agencies face worldwide. Ebisawa's operations not only threatened regional stability, but also posed significant risks to international security, highlighting the urgent need for comprehensive strategies to combat transnational crime. This case offers several critical lessons. Enhanced international cooperation. The successful dismantling of Ebisawa's network was made possible through coordinated efforts among multiple countries, including the United States, Japan, Indonesia, and Thailand. This collaboration exemplifies the importance of sharing intelligence and resources to tackle complex criminal enterprises. Strengthening legal frameworks. The conviction of a high-profile crime boss like Ebisawa demonstrates the effectiveness of robust legal systems in prosecuting transnational crimes. It emphasizes the necessity for nations to have stringent laws and enforcement mechanisms to address the multifaceted nature of organized crime. Public awareness and engagement. Raising awareness about the dangers of organized crime and its impact on society is crucial. Community involvement and vigilance can serve as deterrents and assist authorities in gathering intelligence to prevent such activities. We invite you to share your thoughts on this case. Do you believe justice was served with Ebisawa's conviction? What measures do you think should be implemented to prevent similar incidents in the future? Your insights are valuable, and we encourage you to comment below. For more in-depth analyses on trending crimes haunting the world, consider subscribing to our channel. Stay informed, stay vigilant, and we'll see you in the next one.